Welcome, HeelCast Nation. I am Hurls, here to recap TNA Impact from this past week. Yes, I am solo this week, all by myself. Unfortunately, the other HeelCasters were busy, or they just weren't able to make the show. They apologize. They will be back next week with a huge show, with a co-podcast with King of the Mountain Radio. Yes, you heard it right, King of the Mountain Radio. So they're going to do a double co-op all-star show with King of the Mountain Podcast, featuring the HeelCast as well. So it's going to be a great show. They're going to be discussing the Total Nonstop Action Final Deletion 2-hour extravaganza. So that is going to be really cool. Myself, I don't think I will be on that show, but I know Brother Underscore will definitely be there, as well as Raven Effect. He will also be there, possibly FK9 as well. So check that out next week. That'll come after Impact sometime during the week. But anyways, also want to give a shout out to Chef, TNA Mafia. Follow him on Twitter. He also does his own podcast, so check him out. Really cool dude. Andre Corbeil, he's always a great supporter of us. Check him out as well. Great guy overall. Check out Diva Dirt. That's where you can hear Numero 47. He writes for them, so check that out as well. Anyways, let's get down to the news for the week. Couple things that we had. We had some departures from TNA this week. One of the first departure was Tigre Uno. A little shocking, kind of came out of nowhere, but we really didn't see him for a while. He had some injury issues. I think it was his shoulder he got injured. Kind of last time we saw him was maybe about February or March of this year. So he lost the title to Trevor Lee. We don't really know where what really happened to him after that. And I believe he had a rematch, but other than that, Tigre Uno, he's no longer in the company. So I thought he had a lot of potential, but from the sounds of it, he may have been too costly to bring in. So that was definitely the case with the next two guys that got released from TNA, which were the Tribunal. So along with Tigre Uno, the Tribunal was released. They were released because TNA, the cost to bring these guys in, to fly them over to Orlando, Florida, was just too much, because one of them lives in France and the other one lives in Canada, I guess. But they were too costly, and I would imagine maybe Tigre Uno was the same. We're not sure. Tigre Uno went out gracefully. He thanked TNA for his time there, so that was really good. He took the high road. He was said nothing bad about TNA, so he said he enjoyed his time there. And from what I hear, the Tribunal left on good terms, so that's good. They were well liked backstage, from what I hear. So, hopefully we'll see those three in the future sometime in TNA. Maybe if they can move a little closer to where it's not as expensive to bring them in, that would always be that'll be a good thing if we see them in the future. But we definitely, as a HeelCast, we thank you for your service. We thank you for your matches that you put on, and hope good luck in the future. But as far as the actual is the losing the Tribunal, is it going to be bad? Is it going to be that noticeable? Probably not. I mean, we really didn't get to see a lot of the Tribunal. I mean, they were only there for about 6 months. But, there's definitely, we didn't get to see a ton of them. They didn't do anything, super, super impressive, but they also were there for such a short time. So, hopefully if they do come back later in the year, later in TNA, we'll be able to see something a little different from them. Maybe they'll stand out a little more, but we really didn't get to see that. Tigre Uno, we got to see a lot of. I think Tigre Uno is a solid worker. I just think he was in TNA at a time when there wasn't a ton of X Division guys when he was champion. Not until about later this year did we really start to see a little more of the X Division kind of come back. So, Tigre Uno, hopefully he'll be back and sometime down the future. So, all right. Other piece of news. As we know, Anthem is definitely in control of TNA, and they're definitely doing some, research into the history of TNA. From what I've read is that we're talking to Jeff Jarrett to kind of get a background / history of TNA. They want to know, what made TNA tick back in the day. So they called the right man to do it because Jeff Jarrett was the founder of TNA. So from what I've heard is definitely that Jeff Jarrett and Anthem have been talking. Now, granted, this doesn't mean that they're bringing in Jeff Jarrett. Could it mean they'll bring in Jeff Jarrett later down the road? Sure, definitely. But as of right now, that's not what this means. This just means that Anthem is trying to get a feel for TNA, trying to see, maybe what went wrong with certain things and what went right. So, I've also been told, with some of the people that they've lost in creative, like Dave Lagana, TNA is looking to bring in some more creative minds to the company. So, so that's definitely something we'll keep you posted on once we hear it. Also, TNA, with some of these releases, you could probably be assured that 2017 there'll probably be some returns and maybe some new faces in TNA. Generally seems to be on that first January show of the year. I remember 2 years ago we saw the return of Awesome Kong, and last year we saw the debut of Mike Bennett and Maria Kanellis. So definitely want to, we also saw James Storm come back last year on the January episode. So that is definitely going to be something to look out for. It's going to be, I'm excited for that show, but, we still got one last show for TNA, which will be next week, which is the Total Nonstop Deletion episode. That's going to be phenomenal. I'm so pumped for that. And then I believe after that, we're going to do 2 best of shows. So, 10 the year. So, not really too much. If, we've already seen most of it, but if you kind of want to recap TNA, those are your last 2 episodes of the year. So, all right, anyways, going on to Impact, we had a show. It was the last show before Total Nonstop Deletion. The first segment, we had Moose come out there. We had a "You Deserve It" chants for Moose. That was pretty cool. Fans getting behind Moose. So I think these chants were kind of directed towards him, including his Ring of Honor run, because he never got a title in Ring of Honor. So this was his first title he's won in pro wrestling. So I find that really cool, and I thought it was cool of the fans to say "You deserve it." I enjoyed that. And then we had a returning Drew Galloway. Kind of came out of nowhere, but it was good to make sure that you didn't forget about him. Because Drew Galloway is definitely a big time player, and I think he's going to be a big time player in 2017 again. But it was good to see him. So looks like he's kind of starting a feud with Moose. So that should be good. Keep on the lookout of that. Then Aaron Rex comes out, and he wants his rematch right away. So he's taken his rematch clause. So our first match of the night was Moose versus Aaron Rex. Now, last week's match we had the same one where Moose won the title. But that match was super, super short. Aaron Rex was beat within a minute 45, I believe. It was very, very short match, and there was hardly any interaction at all in the match. So really short. This week, however, we got a lot longer match. This one went into the third round, and it actually saw Aaron Rex dominate most of the match, which was surprising until the end when Moose hit the drop kick where Aaron Rex was on the turnbuckle. So Moose hits the real high drop kick into the game changer with Moose winning and retaining. So didn't really see too much of Aaron Rex do his crybaby stuff. Obviously, he wasn't very happy, but Moose retains. So that was that. Our second match of the night was kind of random. It was Mandrews versus Aidan OShea. So we really haven't seen Aidan OShea do much with Billy Corgan, and that's to be expected with Billy Corgan probably not getting himself involved, because you got to remember during the tapings this was probably the last day, and he may have known more stuff at this point, and well, he probably just decided, I'm not going to go out there, and if I'm not going to be in the company much longer. So it's probably why we haven't seen Billy Corgan too much. So, but Aidan OShea, he did get a match. The first match we've seen of him in a while, I believe. So Mandrews versus Aidan OShea. I thought it was a decent match. Mandrews came out to the same music, the music of his band Junior, but he had a little more of a heel persona, a little more heel attitude, but still did a lot of the same moves. He did the high-flying stuff. Aidan OShea, he worked Mandrews in the match quite a bit, and Aidan OShea was winning for a while, but Mandrews gets a little heel kick to the back of the head to Aidan OShea and hits the shooting star press for the 1-2-3. So Mandrews got a big victory over Aidan OShea. It's kind of an upset with the way, how big Aidan OShea is. And I guess my thoughts on the match were, sometimes when you see a smaller guy and he's facing a bigger guy, it's hard to make that match look believable. I used to hate it when Rey Mysterio would beat the Big Show sometime later in the WWE, maybe around 05, 06 when he would win. I just thought those matches the endings just looked really stupid. But there are times when they can look really cool. I thought when Rey Mysterio beat Kevin Nash in WCW, I thought that was really well done. This wasn't too bad. I think it was pretty solid, because you could really see that Aidan OShea sold that kick like $1 million, because he made it look like that kick just rocked him in the back of the head. So major props to Aidan OShea. I'm glad he got a match on Impact. That was really cool. And if you're going to give Mark Andrews a push, he's got to get a big win like this. So I think there was a decent win for him. And, he needed to further his heel persona. And this helps him. It doesn't do too much to Aidan OShea, because we really haven't seen him in a match for a while. And clearly, we're not going to see Billy Corgan again. So, obviously, his role as being Billy Corgan's right-hand man, that's going to be ending. So I don't know what they're going to do with Aidan OShea come 2017. I hope, he'll still be there, but we don't know. But, he gave a good performance, and hopefully it's not the last time we see of Aidan OShea. So the third match of the night that we had was Al Snow and Mahabali Shira versus the Tribunal, which is for now, the Tribunal's last TNA match. This was a double strap match. So, first time in TNA history we've ever had this type of match. You know, we've been talking about this for weeks now, how we're not really big fans of the feud. And especially now, what did I say, 2 weeks ago or a week ago, that I wanted this feud to elevate the Tribunal. Well, Tribunal's not going to be there anymore. So, this really didn't do much, except for really kind of just buried him. Al Snow and Mahabali Shirai end up winning the match. I think the one thing that I thought this match was just going to be a total dud. And it wasn't great. I'm not going to say it was great. But with the way the hard slaps in the back with the straps, I think the fans kind of got into it a little bit. So I think that helped this match better than if it was just a regular tag team match. But anyways, there was some decent choreography going on with, Al Snow and Shirai hitting their moves at the same time. I think that was pretty good. And that's how they won, by touching, all 6 turnbuckles. So, it wasn't a good match. I think we're just kind of glad the feud's over now. What Shirai does after this, what Al Snow does after this, no idea. I don't know who this feud helped. The only thing I can think of is that, Sony 6 gets to see their Indian wrestler. That's pretty much all this is. So, this was the end of the feud, because we're not going to see the Tribunal again. So, they're gone from the company. So, I don't know. This match was just, eh. After this, the Hardys come out to a pretty good ovation, as they always do in the Impact Zone. And Matt Hardy, earlier in the night, we saw him wake up from a bad dream. And basically, he was having this premonition about total non-stop deletion, which was calling Apocalypto. So, he comes out and says he's calling all tag teams from across the world, from the great tag teams of the past, and he's basically challenging them next week for total non-stop deletion. Then we see Gregory Shane Helms come out and interrupt them and talk about how can you be doing something in North Carolina without my authority. So he tells them that the Helms dynasty is going to be there next week. Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee. We also get the Decay that comes out there and says, we haven't forgotten about the leader Decay. So Rosemary coming out with the knockout strap, that was really cool. And her giving a solid promo, hyping up total non-stop deletion. At the end, we get a little scuffle between Matt Hardy and Gregory Shane Helms, and I believe this was Gregory Shane Helms' first bump he's taken in TNA. I could be wrong. He might have taken another one, but Matt Hardy gives him the twist of fate. So, me personally, we got to see a little preview of this. I am looking forward to this so much. It's going to be awesome next week. It's also going to be really different to see this for 2 hours. So I'm really anxious to see how this is, how it's all going to play out. But I'm excited to see who could possibly show up. In the preview, it almost looks like you do see the Young Bucks. I'm not positive on that, but I believe you do see one of the Young Bucks in there. So I would almost bet that they're going to be in it, especially with Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy looks like they're going to do a match in Ring of Honor as well. So definitely seems to be the Young Bucks will be there. And then obviously the Rock and Roll Express have been confirmed for it. So that's going to be pretty cool. Robert Gibson. It's going to be interesting to see if there is any other tag teams that show up that we don't really see or we haven't seen in a long time. So segment was good, and I believe the promotion for this is phenomenal. So we also get a little video package of the DCC saying they're intrigued by this, and they said that they will be there in Cameron, North Carolina. And then in the preview that we saw, we also see about 6 different DCC members, which we were kind of hinting towards with how many masks there was on the table. So I would be totally down for more DCC members, and it could be pretty cool if they get some other names to come in for it. So maybe we'll see more next week. Who knows? But looking forward to it. All right, so then our fourth match of the night was Allie versus Laurel Von Ness. And before the match, Maria kind of, goads her and just kind of rips on her. And Allie kind of has a breaking point. And Allie says that I've been trained because Maria said that you can't wrestle. But Allie says, yes, I can. Braxton Sutter has been training me. So there's another spin on this storyline. So Braxton Sutter comes out, and he's in Allie's corner. So this kind of gives some light, kind of gives Braxton Sutter a little more to do with this storyline. But anyways, the match between Allie and Laurel Von Ness was really good. Allie is super over with the crowd. I want to say she got the biggest pops of the night. I mean, the Impact Zone definitely wasn't that lively again, but it is what it is. You can only hope next time they're going to be, maybe in January they'll be a little more rowdy. But this match itself was pretty good. I think Allie played the role pretty well. I think she did a good job. Just doing the moves, basic, but you could tell she's smooth because, she's a wrestler. She's wrestled many matches before. So, but she did great job at just selling, the simplicity of it. So, Laurel Von Ness got a lot of she got a lot of moves off. She was dominating most of the match like she should, but she misses a splash, and Allie does the death drop. So she looks like that's going to be her finisher. She's taken a little page out of Sting's playbook, but she did a really, really nice death drop, back drop. So it was a good match. Allie gets her first win. And then after the match, we see a little romance brew between Braxton Sutter and Allie, because Allie says she doesn't know how to act. And then she's so excited, she ends up kissing Braxton and then kind of walks away, not without bumping into a bunch of trucks and cars. But Braxton looks pleasantly happy about the whole ordeal. So looks like we're definitely going to get a couple storyline between the two. But also I do want to mention that Mike Bennett came out during the match, and him and Braxton were exchanging punches, so yeah, that was pretty cool. So I think we'll definitely have a possible Allie versus Maria match we're going to be building up to. I could definitely see that. But very enjoyable match for me. One of the highlights of the show, definitely. I enjoyed it a lot. All right, and then we came up to our main event. Oh, I do want to say before the main event, though, we had a little interaction with Eli Drake and EC3. And the only thing Eli Drake had to do was give the choking symbol, and I laughed. I thought that was pretty funny. But EC3 basically tells him the only choking that happened was you last week. So, looks like we still kind of have that going. But anyways, we had the main event. It was Eddie Edwards defending his title against EC3 in a solid match, back and forth. Every single guy got their move off. A lot of chops in this one, very hard chops. Very stiff match. Both guys, I thought EC3 had a really cool looking one percenter. It almost looked like a diamond cutter, half one percenter, but I'm not really sure what it was, but it looked like a combination of both, but it was a really cool move. It was like right in the beginning of the match, so it was cool. We saw a Boston Crab from Eddie Edwards. We saw a Boston Knee Party. We saw the Chin Breaker from Eddie Edwards. So we saw the chokehold from EC3, but that ended up, his shoulders were down while he had Eddie, but unfortunately for EC3, his shoulders were on the mat. So the referee started counting 1, 2, 3, but when he was doing that, Eddie Edwards ended up tapping right at the 3 count. So the conclusion of the match was decided that it was a no contest. So we didn't really get a resolution, but Eddie Edwards keeps the title. And then after the match, these two were just shoving each other in the face. A lot of heat was going on between them. And I really liked that part. I thought that was really cool. You could definitely see there's a rivalry brewing here, and there's actually some hatred going on, some intensity. So I really, really like that. So EC3, he walks to the back. That's the last we see him. And Eddie Edwards celebrates with the title. So Eddie Edwards will be the champion, most likely, unless he has a match next week at Total Nonstop Deletion. He may. But as a looks like Eddie Edwards is going to be our champion going into 2017. I have no problem with that. So that'll be cool. And then we wrap up Impact with a little preview again of Total Nonstop Deletion. So that's going to be really cool. Like I said, we're going to do a show next week with King of the Mountain Podcast. It's going to be a co-op show, and it's going to be really cool. So check that out. All right. I just want to do. I said it a couple weeks ago. I've been saying it for the last few weeks that I wanted to do a review of the one night only pay-per-views. Raven Effect also will do some of them, and hopefully we'll be able to do one together. But I'm going to do one of the one night only September pay-per-view here real quick. So I ordered it this past weekend. I'm hoping to get caught up with the one night onlys pretty quickly here. So I got to watch the November one and the December one. But the rumor is that there's going to be a live January one. If there is a live January one, I will skip the November and December one if I haven't watched them already. And we will definitely do a recap show of the live one, because I think that one will take precedence over a lot of these other ones. So, but I still plan on, no matter what, watching the November and the December one. So anyways, here's the review of TNA One Night Only September. The first match, it started off with Eli Drake and talking with Sienna. She comes out, and Eli Drake was basically saying that Sienna has the hots for him. So then Sienna says, "No way, I don't have any. I'm not into you at all." So it kind of starts off with them two as a tag team in a intergender match. It's Eli Drake and Sienna versus Grado and Jade. This match was actually pretty funny. A lot of funny stuff happened. Grado gave Eli Drake a little full moon action. It was blurred out though, so that's a good thing. But Jade and Grado end up winning when Jade gives Sienna the package pile driver. The match was decent for a comedy. I wouldn't say it was great wrestling, but it was definitely, there was a lot of funny parts in it. So I'd probably give it about a 2 out of 5. If you're like a wrestling purist and you want to see, 20-minute match, it definitely wasn't that. But it definitely had its moments, and the interactions before the match were pretty funny. So I'd give it a 2 out of 5. Then we had a rematch of the Tribunal versus the Bromans. The Tribunal's debut match was on a one-night-only pay-per-view, and they fought the Bromans, and they lost. So this was a rematch from that time, and it wasn't a bad match. I mean, I definitely, they both teams hit their spots, but the Tribunal ended up winning because Al Snow, because he was still with them at the time, ended up distracting the ref, which allowed Basile Baraka to get the roll-up. So the Tribunal won this time. Another standard match. I would probably give it a 2.5 out of 5. Maybe a 2 out of 5. It wasn't anything great, but it wasn't bad either. Both teams got their spots, and, so Tribunal got the win there to kind of even the odds. The next match was Moose versus DJZ. This was a really good match. I thought they played well off of each other. The whole time I was thinking, well, Moose is going to win this. And he did win it. He did beat DJZ. But DJZ got a ton of offense in. And it was definitely back and forth throughout the whole entire match. And it was really good. But at the end, Moose ends up getting the victory here. But, DJZ, you just got to give the guy so much props for how he's improved over this year. But, yeah, Moose picks up the victory here. So the fourth match we got was Tyrus versus Crazy Steve. They had a little promo before the match, kind of just... DK was just kind of saying how he's the fixer when you wouldn't need to fix anything with the DK because they're perfect. So we had Tyrus versus Crazy Steve. It was what it was. Once again, I mean, it was kind of just your standard match. I would almost compare it to a house show style match. But Tyrus ended up getting the win with the... just pretty much a big slam. So Tyrus gets the win over Crazy Steve here. I kind of figured Tyrus would win, but it was kind of surprising to see him since we hadn't really seen him in a while. So even that this was September, it was still good to see Tyrus. So I'd probably give it 1.5 out of 5. It was nothing special. As far as the Moose DJZ, I would definitely give that about a probably a 3 out of 5. It was a really good match. The next match we had was a no DQ match. We had some knockouts action. It was Marty Bell versus Madison Rayne. This match was alright, but it didn't really have a good flow to it. But it helped Marty Bell. She definitely needs wins to develop her character. I still don't know what they're going to do with Marty Bell. I would hope to see more of her in 2017 because I think she definitely has to get a little more recognition, a little more time. But she ends up winning this match when she uses the baton to hit Madison Rayne over the head. So, the no DQ stuff, it really wasn't... They didn't use it too much. They really only used it at the end in the beginning. I think Madison may have hit Marty Bell with a microphone. But other than that, they didn't do too much of the no DQ stuff. I would have liked to see more. But it was what it was. I was glad Marty Bell got the win because I think she needed it here. But the match itself, I didn't think was very good. I'd have to give it probably a 1.5 out of 5. So then the next match we had was Drew Galloway versus Andrew Everett. This match was really good. Andrew Everett got a lot of offense in, and you probably wouldn't have thought that, facing Drew Galloway, you probably would have thought Drew would have just beat him pretty quick, but no, Andrew Everett got a good amount of offense. Drew Galloway was smooth as he always is. This match was really good. I'd definitely give it a 3.5 out of 5. Drew Galloway ends up getting the victory, but Andrew Everett gave him the fight of his life. I would definitely say so. Andrew Everett proved a lot. Hopefully, like we've been all saying, hopefully Andrew Everett gets a little more shine in 2017. We'd love to see it, but very good match, though. The next match was Mike Bennett versus Braxton Sutter. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. It was Trevor Lee versus EC3, so we had the other Helms Dynasty versus EC3. Once again, another match where you probably thought, EC3 would just roll over Trevor Lee, but it wasn't the case. Trevor Lee got a lot of good moves off. He hit all his big-time moves. The stalling German and the one where he kind of catches him with the foot and slams him down. I'm not sure the proper name for that, but he got a good amount of offense in. But EC3 ends up winning the match, but the match was really good itself. I'd give this probably a 3 out of 5 as well. You could maybe even give it a 3.5 out of 5. Very good matches, though. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 4 or 5 because there wasn't a ton of emotion since these guys were just kind of facing each other for one night only, obviously. So, but still, nonetheless, really solid match and definitely worth checking out. So then the next match was Braxton Sutter versus Mike Bennett. Not too much. This is also a rematch from TNA One Night Only Live in January, where funny thing was Braxton Sutter and Mike Bennett had their debut matches against each other, but at the time Braxton Sutter wasn't signed by TNA. He was known as Pepper Parks then. Good match, but it was just kind of there. Mike Bennett ends up getting the victory over Braxton Sutter. So you may have thought like there might have been an upset here, but no, Mike Bennett got the win. I would probably give this match a 2 out of 5. Just your standard match. Nothing really big happened. Nothing too big. And then the main event, we had Eddie Edwards versus Lashley. This was kind of after their X Division versus World Title match in the cage. So, you knew going in that this match was going to be really good. And it was. It was a very solid match. And these two guys, they put their whole efforts in. And you got everything you wanted. It wasn't their best match. Definitely not. It wasn't better than the cage match. And it wasn't better than Eddie's title defense against Lashley. But it was really good. Lashley ends up winning when he hits the spear after Eddie Edwards tries a backflip and misses, but he lands it. But Lashley catches him with the spear. So that's how it ends. Bobby Lashley defeats Eddie Edwards in the main event. So overall, TNA only one night only, September. It was a decent show. Was there anything crazy that happened? No. Were there some really cool spots in some of the matches? Yes. I'd say the match of the night was definitely either DJZ and Moose or Andrew Everett and Drew Galloway. Not taking anything away from Lashley and Eddie Edwards. Oh yeah, I forgot to give that a star rating. I'd probably give that a 2.5 to a 3 out of 5. Somewhere in there. You could go either or, I think. But as far as the show itself, it was, it kind of seemed like a glorified house show to me. Nothing really crazy happened, but good wrestling. That's matchups that you don't generally see on pay-per-view, on regular pay-per-views or Impact. So, and it was good to see Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee get a little more action, get a little more shine, get some of their lesser known moves off. That was cool to see. So that was definitely some of the positives about it. So that's what I did like about it, and I was glad I watched it. Was it worth $15? I'd probably say no. I would say it's probably more worth maybe $10 because I don't know. I was just, you kind of want to see a little more. Some of the other one night onlys, like there's always like a gimmick to it, or there's like a special attraction match. I didn't really feel we got that with this. But, overall, good matches. And I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10. That's probably what I would give TNA only, One Night Only September. 6 out of 10, I'd probably say. So, anyways, that's the review there. I will definitely be doing November, hopefully soon. And then also we'll be checking out the TNA One Night Only Live show in January. We'll definitely be doing a recap pretty quickly after it happens. So, all right, that's all I got tonight. I'm by myself tonight, so I hope I didn't bore you to tears. But hopefully I recapped Impact and One Night Only well enough for you. But like I said, next week we're going to have a big show. It's going to be King of the Mountain podcast. It's going to be us. And we're going to be doing we're going to have a lot to talk about, I'm sure. So, because I believe Total Nonstop Deletion is going to be great. So, anyways, that's all I got. Check us out. Follow us on TNAasylum.net. That's where all of our home content is, and that's a safe space, even though I don't really like the word safe space right now, and because the negative connotation it has with it, but that's a safe space for TNA fans to come if you don't want other people trolling you. So that's definitely where we have all our content. We're on YouTube. We're hoping to be on iTunes this week, SoundCloud, Stitcher, all the media outlets. We're hoping to be back on this week, so we should be. Anyways, that's all I got. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you later.